Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Popco the Writers. This is, believe it or not, episode 92.
What?
Yeah, and that's not counting all the skipped ones. We'd probably be at 100 right now, but yeah, 92.
Probably, yeah. Hmm.
Yep, that's a lot of sitting around talking.
But how much
Uh,
of it actually, meaningful to talk?
I have yet to see any.
Yeah, I was going to say -4.
Yeah. We might have accidentally had some important conversation, but it
It
wasn't
had
on
to be
purpose.
accidentally with us too.
Uh, I still keep meaning to just bring back all the different co-hosts one night and just do a big
I
set.
love that. I love that idea. Yeah, definitely.
So I got to reach out and make that happen. Um, we're going to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and there's going to be spoilers, so we will put the spoiler warning up.
Hmm.
But and Jim's going to notice this. We were talking about it. I went and saw it on Monday. And it was honestly the first movie I had gone to see in a year.
Hmm.
The last time I had been to a theater was Death on the Nile.
Hmm.
I went up and took Lisa for her birthday to go see it, and the kids, and that was just as all the stuff with my legs started. I was just starting to see my doctor going, Doc, there's a problem,
Hmm.
and then months of complaining and finally, but so I really haven't had the comfort to go to a theater.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I went, it was middle after, it was like, I think I went to like a 12:15 showing.
Hmm.
And I remember always being a lot of trailers. I don't remember there being a half hour's worth of trailers.
You only had a half hour of trailers, is it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like what, 13, 14, however many trailers. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. It's been ridiculous.
that's just how it is, man. Sorry, somebody should have warned you.
What's funny is that they have all those trailers before the movie,
Hmm.
and then they have that stupid in between, new me or whatever it is, where they have some entertainment thing going on.
Yeah,
And it's like,
with
you
Maria
guys,
Menudo or whatever her name
yeah,
is. Yeah.
it's like you
Mhm.
guys realize that if you didn't run that and you ran the trailers then and you started the movies at the time that you said the movies were going to start or shortly after, you would get possibly more movies,
Right, yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And that just seems stupid to me to
Yeah.
have all that time of just dead space.
I see the upshot of seeing all those trailers is I feel like I've seen all those movies, because that's the way trailers are today. It's pretty much like you get to see the whole movie. So I can walk away and say, yeah, I saw the trailer, so I already saw that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what
I'm
was
gonna,
weird is that I saw the new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer and the new um shoot, what was the other one? Oh, the Flash trailer. But they showed the Indiana Jones trailer. They showed the first Indiana Jones trailer.
yeah, you're freezing up. Now I wonder if it's me freezing up or if that's Jim freezing up. I'm going to guess it's Jim, and I'll keep talking because there's no way I could really tell unless I like went on the phone and opened up YouTube and turned my volume down so we don't get that. Go to my channel and let's see. Yep, that's I'm the one. So Jim is frozen. Okay, so and Jim is gone. All right. So what I'm going to do is talk about my experience while we wait for Jim to come back. I got home and I posted on Facebook and I went, yes, here are my thoughts. I saw the movie, blah, blah, blah. I really loved it. And I did. I absolutely loved the movie. Um, but I was fascinated by how many people jumped into my timeline and said, I didn't love it, hated it, this is bad, that's bad. And I'm fascinated by that because if I was walking out of the theater with my best friend and we were talking about it, and then, hang, that's Jim saying his internet went out. So we were talking about it to each other as we're walking out of the theater. Hi, Amy. Then if someone else just kind of walked into the conversation and went, "Oh no, I hated that movie. Oh my god, I can't believe you did that. That was horrible. This ended that bad." And it's like that wouldn't happen. You wouldn't do that, would you? Would you just kind of step into someone else's conversation? So how do we look at posting? If I give my opinion on my page, is that an open invitation for other people to post their opinions on my page? I mean, they are completely right to put up a post on their page. So, how does that work? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, and don't get me wrong, one of the people on there is a good friend, and Andrew, who didn't like the movie. He had some plot hole problems with it, and you know, but it just kind of hit me as funny that people jump in on other people's pages to tell them when somebody says they like something to tell them why they don't. It's kind of an odd thing we do now, and we do. You see it all over the place, and I think we all have been, you know, been guilty of that. You know, Paul, my former co-host, there was a show that I watched, a John Malkovich version of Agatha Christie's ABC Murders that was absolutely horrible, and I posted about it, and then we talked about it on the show, and it made Paul want to go out and watch it just to see if it really was as bad as I said it was. And then when he did, and he posted about it on his page, I immediately jumped in like, "Yes, this is the worst thing ever." Blah blah blah. And it's like, well, he didn't actually invite me into the conversation. Now we've had that conversation, so I don't feel too bad about it. But it just seems like if somebody posts something, then we feel it's perfectly legit to jump in and share our two cents worth. You know, it'd be like if Siskel and Ebert were still around and were sitting in the little theater thing and doing their show, and some maintenance guy came running up the aisle and started giving his opinion. Maybe I'm just being a little oversensitive, but it just struck me as funny. Yeah, and what's funny is I want to hear Andrew's opinion. And I want to hear other people's opinions, but it just struck me as funny as that's just kind of where we're at in society now, isn't it? Just kind of strange. So, and I hope Andrew didn't take offense when I kind of bumped back and forth with him because, you know, the things I've been hearing about Ant-Man were, oh, there's huge plot holes. There's no heart in the movie. This guy, one guy, and I'm not even sure where this came from, said that Jonathan Majors was the problem, that he wasn't a good king, and that it should have been played by either Idris Elba or Rami Malek. And I don't know anybody else who didn't think that Jonathan Majors was great in that role. And since he hasn't come back yet, There was some news this week that, no, I'll wait for him to come back because I want him to hear it. I have an idea. There's an actor named Steven Yeun, who you probably know from The Walking Dead, or he was on, he's the voice in Invincible. He's the voice of the main character. He's up for it's an Oscar. He's nominated for for one of the movies he did recently. Steven Yeun, good actor. And he's been cast in the Thunderbolts, is what the word is. But no one's quite sure what character he's going to play yet. But it's going to be a significant character who will appear later on in the future. Now, everybody seems to think that Sentinel is who they're going up against in the Thunderbolts, and that Steven Yeun is probably going to play Sentinel. And that strikes me as a little odd. I don't know if I would. I don't see that. But okay, Jim says he's coming back. So, but I have an idea who I think Steven Yeun might be playing, and it's not really based on anything other than having done on Wednesday. I did a deep dive into the character of Kang and all of the alternatives, the variants and stuff. So I had this particular one in mind, and there is a Kang variant that would make sense to show up in the Thunderbolts that is actually an Asian American. And his name is Mr. Griffin, and he runs Kang Enterprises. And of course, we saw Kang Enterprises in the Loki series in the Limbo area they were in. There was Avengers Tower, and it says Kang Enterprises on it. So I'm thinking that it's possible that maybe Steven Yeun shows up as Mr. Griffin, because they've been saying that not every variant of Kang will be played by Jonathan Majors. So that's my thinking on that, is that maybe Steven Yeun's going to play Mr. Griffin. And that'll be our first introduction to a Kang who isn't Jonathan Majors. And then it would make sense for him to come back in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So, yeah, that's just what my thinking is on that. And I'll share that with Jim when he comes back, because if I'm right, then I want people to know, hey, but if I'm wrong, then I want people just to, So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying it seems like a possibility. And Jim is back.
Somebody up there didn't want me to talk about Ant-Man.
Yeah. I wanted to bounce this off of you. And I was just telling the audience, but I don't think anybody's actually watching at the moment. So I'll do it again. What?
Amy is.
Yeah. There was a recent announcement this week that Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead has joined Thunderbolts in an undisclosed role, but a significant role that will probably continue into other projects. Now, a lot of people out there are convinced that the Sentinel is going to be the bad guy or the antagonist in Thunderbolts, and that seems kind of far-fetched to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and they think Steven Yeun's going to play him. And I had just on Wednesday, I did a deep dive into all of Kang's variants, and I broke down all of them that are well known and who we might see going and how we've already seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I saw Steven Yeun, my thought was, well, maybe he's playing Mr. Griffin. Mr. Griffin being the Asian American Kang who is trapped in the modern day and starts Kang Enterprises, which will go on to buy Avengers Tower. And we know somebody has bought Avengers Tower. And we know that in Loki, Kang Enterprise, there's an Avengers Tower in Limbo with the name Kang Enterprises on it.
Two things. Has it supposedly we know the movies that Kang is going to be in, or some variation of Kang, right?
No.
Oh, I saw some. There's so much fake stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
I thought it was known, or somebody has said that. Okay, so we don't know if for certain that King is going to be in Thunderbolts.
Right, but
Okay,
we have been told that Jonathan Majors will not be playing every incarnation of Kang.
that was my next question. Would Marvel want a Kang on the screen that's not Jonathan Majors?
And the answer is yes.
Okay,
Kevin Feige is the one who said it.
okay.
No, Jim has not tried to convince me of the sequels yet. That we're saving that one.
We're saving that one for
Yeah.
a special time.
Yep.
For
That's our Matt
an
Damon.
episode where my internet goes out again.
Yeah, that's going to be our Matt Damon thing, where we're always setting up that one and doing other things instead. But yeah, and it was just because I had done that deep dive and I remembered that Mr. Kang was actually an Asian American Kang, or Mr. Griffin.
Yeah.
And then
Mr.
I saw
Griffin,
that casting and I'm like, it would make a lot of sense because I don't think we're going to get Norman Osborn, who
no.
I don't think Sony's going to give Marvel. So if they do that part of the Thunderbolt where they are backed by a corporation with a bad guy at the helm,
Yeah.
Mr. Griffin could take over that spot.
Yeah. I can't see him playing the Sentinel. He like body type is all wrong. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean,
so that's why the Mr. Griffin idea came to mind. I mean, he could be playing any of the other Thunderbolt characters who haven't been, the new character like Beetle or Mach 1 or some of the other Thunderbolt characters.
Yeah.
He could be any of those. But for some reason, that's just what hit when I saw his casting was he might be Mr. Griffin.
What agency is Val head of again? CIA?
Yeah.
You don't think it's going to that the Thunderbolts are going to be a CIA or group?
Well, it could be a combined thing.
Hmm.
CIA with a financial backer.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Like I said, it was just a straight thought. Or he could be the bad guy in it, the one they go up against.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Okay, but it is actually officially confirmed that he's in the movie. It's not like a rumor or anything like that.
It came from Deadline.
Okay.
And that's pretty close to confirmed for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't come. I only listen to stuff that comes from Kevin.
Yeah, there is a story that they did in the New Avengers involving Mr. Griffin. Mm-hmm. And it was how they got pulled. The New Avengers get pulled together. They're all different, all new, all different. And Mr. Griffin comes across a Chitauri warrior named Warbringer, and they work together to try to open a portal to allow a Chitauri armada to come through.
I read some New Avengers. I read all of Dark Avengers and really enjoyed it. That storyline doesn't sound familiar. What era of New Avengers was that? That would have
been 2015. That would have been when they did the all new, all different.
Okay. Yeah,
that was the first story arc that brought the team together.
Yeah, I like I said, I read some New Avengers, not the earlier stuff, but maybe like kind of the later stuff. And at one point, Dark Avengers was like my favorite Marvel title. I just love that one, and I imagine they're probably gonna pull from that, at least the feeling, of it. Hey, did you see the thing that Elizabeth Olsen said? Speaking of Kevin.
Oh, about not wanting to say anything because because that he listens to them.
I love that idea, and I want it so much to be true. I feel a feeling she's exaggerating or just to make it sound good, but I love that idea that they can just say, Kevin, I really want to do this or that, and then the next thing they know, there's the script.
Mark Ruffalo has talked about how he's gone in and pitched ideas for the Hulk, and a lot of them have gotten worked into different movies and stuff. Yeah. So they do kind of take ownership of their characters.
I mean, I love that idea. I really want it to be true. And then it was cute that she said, I just want to come back.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, we all want you to come back, so let's just do this thing, okay?
Yeah. I love the fact that she wants to come back, that she's been in these movies for so long
Yeah,
and she still wants to do them because,
yeah.
I was getting kind of used to, well, here's Robert Downey Jr. and he's leaving, and Chris
Mhm,
Evans is out, and Scarlett Johansson is out. And, and when Hawkeye came out, everybody was like, oh, Jeremy Renner is going to go.
mhm,
It's like there was never anything saying that Jeremy Renner's was done. And
mhm.
now we don't know if he's going to be able to come back.
Yeah, there is that. Well, but with Wanda, like she's got to complete her arc. She's kind of like in the middle of
Right.
an arc. Of course, she's
Redemption.
got to come back.
Yeah, she needs a redemption arc.
Right. She's got to come back to the light. Yeah,
And we
totally.
still got to solve what's going on with the White Vision.
Right.
So it's funny as you read stuff online, and there are so many rumors out there that they suddenly become real to and they get kind of stacked.
Hmm.
So Andrew says, I think there's plenty more to Wanda's character for Olsen to chew on. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, totally,
Absolutely. So
totally.
yeah.
I mean, I
Um,
want her to come back and lead a new Avengers.
but somebody else was saying that Tom Holland, Spider-Man, is supposed to be the leader of the next group of Avengers, and the debate against that is no one's going to take him seriously. He's just a kid.
Well, then he should lead the young Avengers.
But nobody knows he's just a kid because they don't know who he is anymore.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
he acts like he did.
I get frustrated by stuff like that. People are creating narratives,
Uh-huh.
or oh well, they talk about like a Vision spinoff from WandaVision called Vision Quest, like it's a done deal. It's never been announced by anybody.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
you know what? Everybody thinks that they're Elizabeth Olsen. That just because they say what they want, that it'll become a reality.
yeah.
That doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. It never did, and it never will work that way.
See, I think that in a lot of ways the internet is so negative towards Marvel right now, where they throw out these
You
rumors and they
think?
believe it,
Yeah.
or yeah, it's like I was reading Deadline, and the quote was something to the effect of, "Oh no, all those bad reviews and bad audience scores are catching up to Ant-Man," and you
Hmm.
could read the sarcasm that the writer was talking about because Ant-Man had a bad second outing. And at no point did the person doing this article mention that while, yes, Ant Man had a 70% dip in box office between week one and week two, that's only domestically. Worldwide, it was only a 52% dip, which is considered a very good second week. And the other thing they don't mention is there's this huge ass storm going across the country
Yeah.
and people aren't going to the movies at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't factor in
No.
because they want the narrative to be, see, when reviewers say stuff, it matters.
Yeah. No, the honeymoon is over as far as it's de rigueur to dogpile on Marvel now. But
Yeah.
it's funny. Now DC is the golden child, which is really weird.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, Marvel better do something. Ever since Endgame, it's just been nothing at all. It's
Yeah.
crap. The whole thing, every bit of it, it's been
Yeah.
crap.
And it's like you realize that Shang-Chi did very well and had huge audience scores, and the
Mhm.
critics liked it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That came after Endgame, but okay.
Yeah. And
And
Wakanda
WandaVision was
Forever is
after.
like winning awards, in every corner of the world and in every academy and everything.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think the problem is that, and we talked, I don't know if it was you and I talked about it or Kyle and I did, but Marvel is doing the same thing that Stan Lee did in the 60s,
Hmm.
is that they're so open about these projects and stuff
Hmm.
and telling us what's going on and doing interviews that we feel connected to it.
Absolutely, that's what it is. Yeah.
So,
Kevin
but
Feige
then,
learned from the best.
right. But the downside of that is
Hmm.
now we look at these movies, and a lot of people go in with such expectation levels based on what they want the thing to be.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go in and just watch the movie and decide if they enjoyed the movie or not.
That's
They
what I
will
think.
actually dislike a movie because it didn't do what they wanted it to do.
Yeah,
Oh, the
that's absolutely
Fantastic
right.
Four didn't show up at the end. I hated that movie. Really? I'm the one that said I thought they were going to show up.
Right, right. You should be
It
hating
didn't
it.
affect my viewing of it. I walked out there going, "Oh, I was wrong about the Fantastic Four. I love the movie."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know?
And as far as like tone goes, and I've been hearing a lot of negativity. Endgame is over, and the tone is completely different. But it's like, to me, it's pre-Endgame is the Silver Age, and right now what we're in is the early Bronze Age. Like, this is 1972-73 of Marvel Comics, when the Comics Code relaxed, and Marvel was publishing the monster books, all those different monster books. That's what we're in. Everything was a little weirder then,
Mm-hmm.
and a little grittier, and that I just saw somebody say it online. They said, actually, Marvel is doing all of this experimental stuff right now. You're not getting the same old thing, which is what everybody says we are. No, actually, look at all the different things. And I've said this many, many times before. It's because they've earned it. They did all of the big Silver Age stuff and the big heroes and all of that. And now we're getting to the point where Marvel says we could try just about anything. We can do a 1 hour Werewolf by Night,
Yeah.
and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it in a different way that I enjoyed the first 10 years. But yeah, you're absolutely right about the expectations thing is just the killer. Just, everybody is their own worst enemy.
Society loves an underdog, and when that underdog succeeds,
Mm-hmm.
then they love to tear them down.
Yeah, yep, yep. The largest targets are the easiest to hit by the poorest of marksmen.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And that's
And I
exactly
always
what's
go
going
back to the negativity as proxy for insight.
on. Mm-hmm.
And you see it online all the time. People reviewing things negatively because it's the only way they'd have anything to say.
Yeah, and that's the sad facts of it. That's the truth. Speaking of negativity, did you already talk about Ant-Man when I was gone?
No, I was
Okay.
waiting for you.
Okay, good.
All right, let me put up the spoiler.
But in general, you had a good movie theater experience.
I did. I hadn't been in the
Good.
movie for about a year, and then
Hmm.
I came out, and it was nice. And
Good.
yeah, I mean,
I'm assuming there probably wasn't that many people in the theater on a
no,
Monday.
there was because it was a holiday.
Oh, what were you thinking? Going on a holiday. Jeez.
I was thinking it was the only day I'd have a chance to see it this week.
Okay. Okay. I'm really glad you went to the theater to see it. That's
Yeah.
great.
Let's see. Jay says because someone was directed their favorite Marvel movie is heading DC. Comic book wars are weird, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew says this has been post the Avengers Endgame arc. It's about rebuilding. And Jay says they'll do the same thing if DC starts churning out movies the general audiences love. Yeah. It's kind of like that girl in high school who runs around in all the punk rock t-shirts or the indie band t-shirts. And as soon as one of those bands gets a top 40 hit, they throw the shirt out and
Yeah.
swear,
Mm-hmm.
no way I'd ever listen to those guys. Oh my
Yep.
God.
Yep.
Yeah. This
Perfect.
is our little private Idaho over here.
Yeah.
You know?
Perfect. Perfect.
Yep. I think that's the point we're in right now is that I think the comic book worlds were always theirs, and now they're oh my God, everybody's loving this. Is great. Wait, no, that's mine. I want it back.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, all right. So we put out the warning that we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and there will be spoilers following. So please exit now if you have not seen the movie. Thank you.
Otherwise, keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the pod or the online show and everything will be fine.
I'm preparing for my future as a host on NPR radio. Today we're going to talk about golf. All right. So
hurry up, because I want to tell you how wrong you were to love Ant-Man.
Ant-Man was a movie that I walked out of it, and as it sat in my brain, I liked it more and more. Because to me, it hit all of the points that I wanted, and what's funny is that a lot of the stuff that people are complaining about, it's like, well, there's no Lewis. It didn't make sense to have Lewis in this movie, or the ex-con guys, or her mother, or Cassie's mother and stepfather.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie that takes place, we intro Scott, and he's reading the book to the kids, so it's his narration. And then they go back to the house, they have dinner, they get sucked in. So where are you going to put Lewis? Yeah, and exactly. Marvel doesn't do voiceovers unless there's a purpose to it. They don't do voiceovers just to do voiceovers. So having Paul Rudd read the book to an audience makes sense.
Yeah.
And the last part, we're going to talk about that ending. But
the ending or the credits endings?
All of it.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
Go,
man. Or the other thing I hear is people are like, well, why wasn't her mother and stepfather at the birthday party? Because it wasn't her real birthday party. It was Scott trying to make up for all the birthday parties that he had missed.
Right.
So he decided to throw a little birthday party with the Van Dyne Pims, because they were gone 5 years too.
Yeah.
So it was just a little celebration to show how much they appreciate Cassie.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel that Hope was underserved in this movie?
Yes. And there was supposed to be, there is some stuff that got cut. Some of it was Hope. And from what I understand, most of the last 5 minutes got reshot. So there was things that, and we could talk about that when we get to the end.
I was going to say, because I actually thought I knew what was about to happen at the end, and it didn't. And I was a little disappointed. I mean, I'm okay. I kind of see why, but I actually did think they were actually going to do something a little chancy, but anyways, keep going.
All right. So I like the opening. I like how it's kind of a recap. We see San Francisco, but in a bus ad, not the actual city. And basically that's a good indication. It's a foreshadowing the fact that we're not taking place in San Francisco. San Francisco is not a part of this. It's just where we happen to be started, and we're going to leave here pretty quick. This is all about the quantum realm.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. And they don't take a lot of time to get there. We get opening. We see how things have changed since Endgame, how Scott's changed, how Cassie's grown up. We get those dynamics. But what we also get is the establishment of this pseudo family that's been put together. The referring to Hank as Grandpa Hank.
Okay. So they're not married, and I didn't miss something, right? Okay. I thought that was interesting, because they keep saying Grandpa Hank, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I fuzzed out there for a moment that he said that they got married, but they didn't. So it's an honorific more than anything.
Yeah.
They're not, Hope and Scott did not get married. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from Cassie's point of view, she lost a big chunk of her family, and we don't know. We just see her at the end of Endgame. We don't see her parents, her mom and dad, her stepdad. Did they get snapped away? Or did she go from having, did she lose everybody, which is possible?
Right.
So suddenly everybody's back and she's reconnecting, and it sounds like she connected very well with Hank.
There's a mention of her mother and stepfather, and I'm trying to remember what the context was.
Them calling
Yeah,
because having to do with the jail thing, and
that's
you
it.
know,
Yeah, that's it. And like you said, that's all that's necessary.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And again, it would have been neat if they were doing a standard movie that took place in Frisco to have those characters pop up. But I
Mhm.
mean, they worked in a Jimmy Woo cameo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wow. I mean, a tiny little cameo, but
Right. But
to
they got the
have
card
him
trick
do
thing
that,
in.
yeah.
So it's not like they weren't trying to do some fan service. And they brought, as Jay pointed out, David Dasmalchian voiced one of the rebels. So at least he was still involved.
Mhm.
So, you know,
But you know what? They did that movie twice.
yeah,
All those other characters. I think it's incredible that the big stuff that happens here is in an Ant-Man movie, because it's like we don't have Captain America, we don't have Iron Man, we sort of don't have Thor anymore. So I love it. These next tier guys are moving up now
yeah.
and becoming and taking on shouldering that much more responsibility. I mean, Ant-Man, who would have imagined that the real King gets to debut in an Ant-Man movie?
Mhm. Well, I mean, and and that's one of the other things I've been hearing a lot is, well, how is it that Ant-Man was able to take out Kang? Well, it wasn't Ant-Man. It was Ant-Man and the Wasp and the other Wasp and the original Ant-Man
Hmm.
and an army of frickin' intelligent ants and
Hmm.
Stature or Stinger, however she's going to go.
Hmm.
So, and they got lucky,
Yeah.
because he was still fighting at the end.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
But he was also reduced in
right.
power,
Mhm.
so
And
and you know what? He was actually kicking Scott's ass too, right?
right. And we see in the beginning when he gets there that his suit is his power. His
Hmm.
armor is his power.
Hmm.
And we see that his armor is damaged before he starts fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a physical fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's like missing one whole like arm of the suit or whatever. Oh yeah, I don't know if people maybe have forgotten that in the comics, Kang is just a guy.
Right.
He's got all these technological tricks and everything, but there was just that King one shot. I think we talked about it. That King one shot that came out. There's a
Yeah.
part in that, spoiler alert, that he removes the armor and just fights like a guy. He's done that in how many different stories over the years. Um,
But
so
his power is his technology and time travel.
mhm.
And he doesn't have those things in the quantum realm.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
has some of his technology back, but when he loses that, he's just a guy.
Yeah, and imagine what he'll be like when he's up to full king power. We haven't
Right.
even seen that yet. We've
Yep.
seen him, the army that he's amassed, and all of that. But no, I think I was amazed that to me this is the comic book King. This is a great, another really good translation from the page to the screen.
And I love that they gave us the scenes with him and Janet, and we see him differently. We don't see the conqueror. We see the stranded
Yeah,
doctor scientist.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I said that right after I got out of the movie. It's like this is almost Michelle Pfeiffer's movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, even at some point, Paul Rudd takes a backseat. I mean, it's really about her. Everything that happens is because of her. I was amazed. That was a surprise right there to go into that movie and go, "Wow, she's really in this a lot, and she's central to everything."
yeah,
And that's where it gets a little sad in a way that Hope takes a back seat. After it was all done, I said, you know what? Hope had no story arc in this. Not really.
Yeah, I think there was one, but they probably cut some of it down. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the stuff that they
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
Supposedly, they redid the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
So the whole fight scene, and what happens to Kang and stuff. Now, Andrew says right here that that begs the question: will we see this Kang again? And I'm going to say 100%, because he didn't die. He got sucked into the battery of the thing that he needs to time travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not thinking. Yeah, I'm not saying he's dead.
Yeah. The Red Skull didn't die.
Yeah. So I think what happened is that they had a plan, and from my guess is that it's close to what we saw, except when the portal closes and Hope and Scott are back there, are still in the quantum realm, is that the movie ends with them trapped.
Yes. That's what I remember sitting there going, oh, that's what they're going to do. And I thought, well, wow, that's going to be a very interesting ending and almost a little bit of a downer. And I thought, okay, let's do this thing. And then it opens back up, and I'm, or whatever, they show Cassie working on it. And I went, well, okay, that's okay too. But in some ways, I kind of wish they would have had them stuck there.
There's one reason I understand why they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they ended the last movie.
Did they?
In the post-credit scene, he goes in to get the stuff for Ghost.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And he gets trapped in the quantum realm. So this would be the third movie that he gets trapped in the realm, because he has to come out. Cassie calls him out in the first one.
Yeah.
And the rat gets him out in Endgame. Mm-hmm. So another one with him ending with in the thing. Plus, they've got a lot of stuff coming up. Do they really want to have to take the time in a future movie to explain how they get them out of the quantum realm when they could just say that Cassie was able to reopen the portal? It's a not the best way to end it, but yeah, it also didn't really upset me either, because it's like, yeah. So
Andrew, I was already creating scenarios before the portal reopened and they got to go back. My guess was that it was, if they had kept him there, that would be kind of a way to take Paul Rudd off the table for a little while, and have Cassie step up. And again, I thought, okay, this is a way that they're clearing the board for the Young Avengers to be prominent, again, I'm not angry, because it gives it a happier ending. They get to have the birthday party and all of that. And after all, the story is about Cassie and Scott, coming, having an understanding and growing as, father and daughter.
Mm-hmm. But see, the thing that always amazes me is that everybody talks about, well, it's time for the Young Avengers. It's got to be the Young Avengers. Mm-hmm. And they've introduced a lot of these characters. Mm-hmm. But nobody from Marvel has ever said those words.
I understand. I get that. Yeah. I get it.
There has been no confirmation. There's not even a deadline story that says, oh, they're going to do the Young Avengers. Mm-hmm. They just been introducing these characters. There's a good chance we're not going to see the Young Avengers till phase 7, 8. Mm-hmm.
The problem is none of them will be young anymore. I just feel like it's going to be one of the projects we know that's in between these things that we already know about. I don't know. But you're absolutely correct. I mean, that again, yeah, that's that fan expectation thing. But it is a little funny and coincidental that so many of those characters have been introduced so far.
Yeah. Cody says, back when Loki came out, Dan and I think discussed the Loki would be more important than everyone's going to realize. Kang being in Quantumania and introducing him is amazing. I love the movie. Oh, thank you, Cody. Yeah. The fact that we get that second post-credit scene and we see Victor Timely. Now, there's some people out there that speculate that Victor Timely is this Kang. That basically somehow, when he goes into that, he gets dumped out of quantum realm into the past.
If I remember correctly, in the comics, that Victor Timely is the Kang the main Kang. You know what's funny is originally when we got different versions of Kang in the comics, it was just on different points on Kang's timeline. But now, in the movies and the TV shows and whatever else, it's literally separate, alternate, variants of him from other universes. It's just a little funny thing that I was thinking of. But yeah, it could very well be that's not a variant, but that could be him.
Yeah. Andrew says, Jim, it angers me. It's a cop-out, feel-good ending that's unearned, and the story was going to that moment of Scott choosing to lose to protect Cassie. And yeah, I can see they were building towards that. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, he did choose. He chose to stay, and Hope chose to go after him with that idea in mind. Now, again, time works funny. So we don't know when that portal opens. And all we saw was the portal open.
Right.
And then we see the after effect. But there has been some speculation, and this is what I think is fascinating. People think that perhaps that Scott doesn't come back to the proper timeline.
Okay.
Because if you look, they go through and they nitpick out these things, but there's little things that don't seem to make sense. Like when he's walking down the street, there's a single couple that passes by him multiple times.
I hadn't noticed that.
And if you look at the clothing, everybody is wearing shades of purple and green.
Well, I totally missed that then.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that so that maybe the open portal thing isn't the cop-out everybody thinks it is, because it's just a cliffhanger and we're going to find out what's going on later.
What do you think? Did you notice that when you saw the movie?
No.
I feel better now that I didn't, because I didn't notice.
There were a couple things that looked funny to me. Like there was a sign up that had Ant-Man's head and a heart around it, and that was like, that's kind of weird. And then when he starts going there, maybe Kang's dead, right?
Oh, but, sure. But okay, I thought that's there is to not have it be a completely happy-go-lucky ending, that there are these doubts that are hanging there, and should be, with because there's no body. Kang, didn't end up dead or anything like that. That's what I thought. So we don't know for a fact that there was an original ending with Hope and Scott staying in the quantum realm, right?
There is reports of that.
Okay.
So, and it's from multiple sources.
Okay.
And and there are reshoot photos where they're all dressed in the outfits from the birthday party.
Okay.
So that was done in reshoots.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I have a feeling they had a different ending in mind, and they had to change it because of things that were changing in the overall. And it's the downside of doing a cohesive universe.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes you're going, and they have had to do this a lot, where they make changes because of other movies and other things. And it might be that having Scott and Hope trapped in the quantum realm no longer worked for everything else was happening.
Yeah.
So they had to fudge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So But you're right. That is the challenge of building this gigantic picture that
Yeah.
that you move this and then it affects this and so on and so forth. Hmm.
So no, and Andrew says that ending had to be written. I 100% think it was written. I think that's where they were going, and something happened and they needed to change it because I don't think they would have changed it just to let's have a happy ending. They didn't have a happy ending last time. They had them trapped in the quantum realm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're not afraid to do that, but it is kind of repetitive if you think about it.
I didn't see it that it would have necessarily have been a downer of an ending because Scott and Hope would have been together.
Yeah,
They had
Cassie was
just
safe. Yeah,
gotten rid of King. In that brief moment before the portal reopens, I thought, oh, okay, they're going to stay there and help those people rebuild now that they've gotten rid of King. So it's not necessarily, if Scott was there by himself, a little more of a downer. But I thought, oh, okay, I get it. Hope is there together. They're freed up from all of the crap on Earth, and they can, be the leaders of this rebuilding movement.
yeah.
But I'm okay. I would have been okay with that, and I'm okay with the way it did end.
So, yeah, I don't have a problem with the way it ended. I think they were building towards it, but for me, it had my favorite moment in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
hands down,
Mm-hmm.
is when all the ants charge into the city and start fighting, and Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, just walks in like he owns the place,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
the coolest stride.
yeah.
And for all the people that grew up liking Hank Pym,
Mm-hmm.
that before got attached to the character long before the craziness and the abuse and all of that other stuff they've done to the character, the people that like Hank Pym, like myself and like you, that moment,
Mm-hmm.
that Hank Pym scientific adventurer,
Mm-hmm.
that was such a payoff moment for me.
Yeah, I like ants.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Totally agree with that. And I'm just going to say the same thing again. Yeah, even Michael Douglas gets more to do than Evangeline Lilly in this
She
movie.
had a couple heroic moments.
I know. You know
I
what I
think
thought her story arc was going to be was that pretty early on she starts getting really pissed at her mother. And I
yeah.
thought, okay, that's the thing is that this rift happens. She, about can we trust you anymore? And then that didn't really go anywhere. So I'll be interested to hear as time goes on of what things that were in there were cut. What could it have been? I can't imagine Evangeline Lilly being very happy with the end result as far as her character goes. And you know why I say that, Dan? Because again, we always go back to that book that both of us read, that the making of Marvel Studios or whatever.
Yeah.
She in interviews, she struck me is a very different tone than a lot of the other people that they interviewed about how she really had to be convinced to be in those movies to take
Yeah.
it on or whatever. And I thought, wow, I would be surprised that she would agree to do this one with as little as she, gets to do in this. That she of the four characters, she's number 4 in line with interesting things to do.
Yeah. I know that she wasn't interested, turned down um, 2 different roles, one of which was Hugh Jackman tried to get her into the X-Men, and she
Okay.
turned that down. And then she talked to J.J. Abrams when he was doing the Wonder Woman TV show that ended up casting Adrian Palicki.
Yep.
They went to her, Evangeline Lilly, and
Wow.
she turned them both down because she didn't think superhero movies were for her. And then
Mm.
her agent convinced her, you should probably watch them first.
Yeah, before making up your
Yeah.
mind.
And she sat down, watched them, and went, wait, these are actually good.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and with high caliber actors, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got just in this movie alone, Michelle Pfeiffer, uh,
Michael
Michael
Douglas.
Douglas, Bill Murray,
Yeah,
Jonathan
yeah.
Majors, Paul Rudd. You
Uh,
know,
Jonathan
some of the
Majors,
other.
right?
Yeah, Meryl Streep is in the MCU. Um,
Right.
Robert Redford is in the MCU.
Robert Redford, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins. There's another great one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just down the line. Jim's freezing up again. So yeah, it's crazy. Just some of the great actors that have popped up in the MCU. So you know, did she get short shifted or short shrift or whatever the word is? Yes. There was so much going on in this movie. It was such a Cassie, uh, Scott, and Janet movie plus Kang that Hank and Hope didn't get a lot of time. But then I think they got a lot more time in the last movie too. So I'm sorry, Glenn Close, not Meryl Streep. I get the two of them confused, Andrew. So, all right. I definitely think we've lost Jim. Yep, we lost Jim. And that's Jim saying thumbs up. Okay. So we've lost Jim, but we're just about done for the show this week. Andrew, I am sorry that the ending bugs you so much. Yes, it could have been better. Yes, I think you are 100% right that they were writing towards a certain direction and ended up changing directions. Um, I think there's a good, we'll find out later what the reasoning was, and it probably has to do with the overall continuity, but it didn't take me out of the movie. It didn't ruin the movie experience for me. I enjoyed it, and I thought Jonathan Majors was great. I thought the movie clicked on a lot of great ways, and it was fun just to go in and see a happy movie. And you know what? A lot of these movies end on downer notes now. At I'm just happy to end on something a little more positive anyway. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. Maybe next week, Jim will convince me that the sequel trilogies in Star Wars are better than I think they are. We will have a new Mandalorian episode to talk about. So looking forward to that and see what else is coming out. So Andrew says, I just wish I saw your movie. We saw the same movie, man. Just saying. I take the movies for what's there, not for what I think should be there. And, maybe something will happen. Kevin Feige's got this great way of kind of pounding things out and changing our opinions of things. So, all right, guys, we will see you next week or on the Dan Wickline Show on Tuesday. Thank you, Jay, for mentioning that. Have a great time. Take care and stay up.